Hey, welcome to Pastor Play. All right, so now we're reviewing Vampire Academy Season 1, Episode 7, currently streaming on Peacock. I'm sorry, that name. All right, so the show opens up with so we get more on the history of how the Royal Morroys came to be. There were originally 13 saints, the best of the Moroi vampires, and the best of the saints were Vladimir, who had, the vision for the Moroi to be secret and isolated from the humans, where they could, have a home and the Dampier could also have a purpose separate away from the humans. And, he was kind of the founder of the idea of the provinces and all that. But apparently, this is also a lie. And then the narrator says that, this is a lie that is told at the Academy of, Saint Vladimir, the founder of it all. But it's a lie, and that the truth will come out because eventually it always does. And that there are more dangers out there in the human world than necessarily the Strigoi. And that there is basically, too, it shows like some kind of duo, like they look like human mercenaries with scars on their face, who are, it looks like, is actually hunting the woman who's doing the narration about kind of the history of, the Vladimir and the 13 saints, who eventually these 13 saints make up, their offspring make up what is now, the royal families. They're derived from these original 13 saint vampires who were the best at that time, three or four or five times, down, the current generations of the family royal council now. And so, and also too, in the beginning, as she kind of giving this narration, we see that we see her bribing a security guard at a hospital, um, at a hospital at their shipping dock, where she basically pays the guard to turn off the camera while she steals some blood from either a shipment coming in or going out of the hospital, of, fresh blood in the blood bags, for her to feast on. But she's also out in the human world. She's not in any of the provinces. She's living out in the human world, but she's also narrating this story. Okay. And then from there, again, we also to see these like two duo humans with these scars on their face, who, it seems like they're hunting her and they just miss her. But they're part of maybe some kind of human order who still knows about the existence of vampires, it seems, and are hunting the ones who maybe aren't necessarily confined and separated in those provinces. She doesn't give them a name. She just says, dangers of the human world. But we actually get to see maybe another threat to the Moroi Dampier kind of race, other than just the Strigoi vampire. So that's interesting. Again, I haven't read the book, so I don't know who these like mercenary type human, hunters are, who's looking for this lady. Um, but then anyway, so next we go to the Queen, and now this is after the fact that when Sonya tries to attack, Tatiana at the party for calling, Mikhail a traitor for becoming a Strigoi, even though they killed him and they turned him to a Strigoi. It's like he did try to fight to save his life. It's not like he just was like, yes, take me now, Strigoi. But anyway, this is the aftermath. The Queen is with Victor, and she lets Victor know that she just can't give him the crown. He has to win it legitimately with the royal council voting, to have him as the winner, and he would need a 6-5 split. Um, and so, she gives him like the names of the three persuadable heads of families: Abby Batista, Peter Taurus, and Annie Veticolazar, to get his votes by that night at the caucus, where the royal family is kind of set to vote on the queen's successor. And so then they show us Victor doing his rounds of talking to these specific family heads, as well as some other ones. And it seems like he makes headway with them, to end up getting their votes, to put him as the monarch of the of all the provinces and all the vampires and all that. And we see after he talks to some of them, he starts like getting kind of ill because even though Sonya had healed him in a previous episode, that's starting to wear off because she just kind of healed him for a moment. She didn't like completely take the disease out of him, but now he's starting to get the effects of the disease that he has, and he starts showcasing it again. And so he goes back to Sonya, not necessarily for her to heal him again, but just to let him know that he's so close to winning and becoming king. And Sonya's like, well, you can't be looking weak as you're becoming, the new king. So she heals him again. Um, and, of course, it takes a toll on her. Her eyes go black again. Um, and, her eyes fills up with like kind of the darkness. And after healing Victor, he sends a feeder to her room, for her to get some blood because she may be weak, and then it kind of ends there. And so now we go to Lissa and Adrian. Adrian's from the previous episode, who she finds out he also has the spirit element, or the spirit kind of power, and they both need to go see this scholar, with more knowledge of Vladimir, the original, it seems, spirit, um, the spirit element or magic. But she's a heretic. So it turns out that this scholar or heretic is also the one who in the beginning of the episode was the narrator. And basically she was kicked out because she was telling the truth, of what was actually going on with Vladimir, and and they basically need Dimitri and Rose to come along for protection because, again, she's living in the human world. She's not within the confines of any of the provinces or anything. They have to venture out into the human world, and they need some protection out there, even though they both have magic, but whatever. I mean, I'm just gonna be quiet because to me, that's something that doesn't make sense about this overall thing. They got super strength, super speed. Other than like them not being able to be out in daylight, they have the magic and all these different things, but they need protection. Fine. So they get Dimitri and Rose to come along for protection, even though Dimitri doesn't necessarily want to do it. At least it's like, I need to get more information now. She doesn't necessarily tell him everything, but she's just like, I need your help. Either you're gonna come with me or you're not. And then so they go, and they end up going to this. They have to make a stop along the way to find out where the heretic is living. And they end up going to this club or party. And while they're waiting to see like a friend who knows like the address or the whereabouts of this heretic, Adrian lets Lissa know that Jesse Zekos, who she's decided to be betrothed to, makes him look like an eligible bachelor, Adrian. And he lets her know that she may have more choices than the names that were given to her to marry, as far as to maintain her Dragomir name. And then so after at the party, Rose and Dimitri, they're kind of like dancing on the floor all seductively while, they're waiting for Lissa and Adrian to get more information about where this heretic is. And, they're not, Dimitri's like, we need to be paying attention to what we're doing here. It's only the two of us in this club full of people. The Strigoi could be here. It's like really darkly lit. So the Strigoi could easily blend in. And then it turns out Rose ends up getting that inkling again that the Strigoi is nearby. And Adrian gets the information he needs, and once, again, Rose gets that feeling that Strigoi is nearby, she actually sees one as they're rushing to leave the club. They get in the car, and then they drive off, and then they get to the heretic and where she's at. And, she sees Adrian, and she doesn't want to talk to him. She doesn't care that they've brought, their Dhampir guardians. And, he's like, you may not talk to me, but, Lissa can make you. And Liz is like, I don't have to, I can compose you, or you can just tell us on your own. And basically, what the heretic ends up telling them is that, there's like these three pieces. There as the art that Lissa was looking for was kind of, documentation of how Vladimir was and his so-called spirit magic. And there was like, I guess, three pieces of art that she could find, and that even Adrian could find, that kind of documents maybe, what his powers were. And, it shows the compulsion, it shows, the healing, um, you know, but when they get to this heretic, she ends up letting them know that the fourth thing that they're looking for that they can't find is called the spirit bond, where basically that Vladimir passed his darkness to a Dampier. And there's this photo of one of the pieces that they found of art where Vladimir is over a Dampier who's like kind of flat out on the ground or on some kind of couch or whatever, and he's basically, it looks like he's healing her. It turns out that he ends up bringing her from the dead. And the last piece, it shows him kind of standing side by side next to this his Dampier, and passing the darkness from himself to his Dampier. And that's what the spirit bond is. And then, Lissa, Lissa finds us out, she feels that Vladimir is, no better than anybody else in kind of the overall, world government, to just pass on his darkness to his Dampier. She was kind of looking for answers to figure out, how to fight the darkness. And then that's what she finds. And she just feels, I guess, I don't know if the word is defeated, but she just kind of feels like, man, this is what I find out. She was hoping to find out something better than that, how to deal with it, not just to pass it on to somebody else. But as they're talking to this heretic, Lissa, Adrian, and Rose and Dimitri, they're outside, but Rose picks up again that there's Strigoi coming. And then so the Strigoi, now they're attacking. They put Adrian, Lissa, and the heretic in the bathroom and lock the door. And so Dimitri and Rose, they end up fighting off the Strigoi, but one of the Strigoi, which is like a little, like a child Strigoi, ends up like breaking in the glass window on the side of the bathroom where they're in, and they actually end up getting stuck in the window because they're too big to fit in, but they're still like a child. And Rose hesitates to, kill the child Strigoi, and the heretic uses like a fireman element to like put it on fire. Then it ends up kind of like flying out of the window because it's on fire. And she even lets Rose know, you can never hesitate. Um, and also too, there's a point too in this fight where as Dimitri and Rose are fighting the Strigoi that have broken into the apartment of this heretic, they hear Lissa scream when this vampire breaks in through the window, and Rose kind of hesitates, looking at Dimitri, to just, kind of hesitant, like, do I go help Rose or do I stay here and help Dimitri fight? And she decides to go, and I don't know if she decides, but she goes to help, Lissa, who she also again hesitates at, the fact that it's a child Strigoi. But this will come back a little bit later. But anyway, then we go to Irene, who is, Tatiana's aunt. And Irene is the head of the church, and she lets the queen know that she will not support Victor if he's nominated. And then the queen says, how much balance can there be if one family controls both the church and the state? They should be separate. And she says, unless Irene is retiring or stepping down, it doesn't make sense for both of them to be, the head of both of these, of the church and the state. And then Irene's like, I'm not stepping. She doesn't say she's not stepping down, but she's like, just so you know, Tatiana is the only candidate that the Tatiana is the only candidate for the throne that the church will tolerate. And without the support of the church, the new monarch will fail. They will make sure of it, the church itself, and so will Irene. And then, of course, now Victor finds this out after he's been healed by Sonia. He finds out, and the queen lets him know that the church is forcing his hand, and he tries to persuade the queen, and she's like, "Don't worry, don't worry. I have one more move to play." And she lets him know, she kind of declares that, there is no clear majority candidate between those running, and she will be evoking this ancient rites of royal trials. It's a ritual sanctified by the church, and basically the candidates must face a series of sacred tests, and whoever wins will rule, and the elements will decide the fate, and not the aging queen. So basically, I think it'll be the combination of like the church, and I guess maybe select individuals who will end up deciding who will take over for the queen based on these. Um, they will decide based on who wins these tests, or who comes out the winner of these tests. And that way, too, it won't be solely on the queen. So it will be based on who wins these trials. So this gives Victor another way. But of course, he's sick and he has this disease. So we'll see what happens and what toll it takes on his body, and we'll see what ends up happening. But the queen has found another way to stall to try to get it out of Tatiana's hands. But a lot of the people too, a lot of those three family heads that she had Victor go to, they don't necessarily want Tatiana either. But Tatiana she's using her aunt to try to get it to go her way. And so the queen has found another way to counteract it. But this is basically the last thing she can do. If it does end up being Tatiana who beats Victor, then if she ends up beating him, she will end up being the queen. So we'll see what ends up happening. Since the test is sanctified by the church, or if let's say Victor does win, then I don't think Irene has no choice but to accept it, and it isn't solely based on the queen anymore either. So which is why she's like, "In your face, Irene." But we'll see what happens. And then two, now we're back at the academy, back in the province, safe and sound. And Dimitri, lets Rose know that, again, she can't hesitate, whether to protect him or Rose. She has to protect whoever she's guarding at all costs. She can't hesitate with the Strigoi, whether they're younger or older, and that, again, she can't hesitate, with protecting him either. She has to just protect whoever she's she's um she's assigned to guard. And he's like, basically, it can't happen again. And also too, she does let him know about this, the fifth element, or spirit, or magic of spirit, and how the council or government has pretended like it doesn't exist, or act like it, yeah, that it doesn't exist, and that it's not something that is documented. And he's like, he doesn't believe it. And she's like, when will you wake up? They're not the government, or the Moroi. They're not everything they appear to be. You just can't keep following orders. And in that sense, she is right. But he's just very kind of taken aback that this spirit magic exists, and it's not, no one necessarily knows about it. It's not really known. And so now we go back to um, age. Lissa's in her room, and Adrian gives her a list of 4 names of other men to be betrothed to, who are not, the choices that she was given by Victor and the Queen. And one of the names is Christian Ozura. And in this episode, we don't see Christian at all, but he's one of the names on the list. I was thinking, why didn't Adrian put his name on this list? He's like, I don't want to be married, I guess. But he might be a good choice because they're both spirit magic. Who knows? But he didn't write himself down as a choice. He just gave her 4 other choices that would be more fun, and goes against the grain of what, the government is telling Lissa who she should marry. And then at this point, after Rose talks to Dimitri, she comes in. She knocks on the door of Lissa, and even before Rose speaks, Lissa lets her know, I she will get a new guardian, but it can't be Rose anymore. She has to do what's best for Rose, and Rose is upset. Like, you can't tell me what's best for me is not protecting you. Being a guardian is the only thing I can really do as a damn peer. And you're basically making this decision for me, and you're telling me it's the best thing, and it's not. Basically, she's like upset, because again, though they're friends, they're also kind of like sisters to an extent. So she's just kind of feeling like betrayed, and Lissa lets her know, that Rose, you died and I brought you back to life. But you died, you tasted death, you were dead, and I brought you back to life. And also, that's why we have this connection. That's why, you can feel what I'm feeling. You can even kind of see what I'm seeing. I've also been passing my darkness off to you. That's not fair. That's not right. And she doesn't want to do it anymore, and she thinks by kind of separating from Rose and keeping distance from Rose, that will hopefully help combat passing on the darkness. Or maybe something happens again where Rose gets hurt. Maybe she'll try to heal her. So she's trying to do what she thinks is right, to protect herself and also Rose, and try to figure out the spirit magic. And then so it kind of leaves what they leave what Lissa just basically closing the door on Rose, and kind of leaving it at that. And then Rose is like banging on the door, saying Lissa's name, and Lissa's not saying anything. She's just kind of crying on the other side of the door. And then that ends that. And then the final thing of the episode is now after the queen lets everyone know about this new this new test that has to be done by the candidates running to be the next queens slash monarch of all the vampire dominion. Victor comes back home, and he sees that the feeder that he sent to Sonia is dead on the floor, sucked dry. But Sonia is gone, and she's nowhere to be seen. He's like, "Oh, Sonia, no." And now too, they told you that one of the ways to become the Strigoi is to kill and to kill and to take someone's life. And basically that's what's happened here. So now with the spirit magic, does that change if Sonya will become Strigoi? Honestly, I don't know. I remember in the movie it really necessarily didn't change the character as far as becoming Strigoi, but it's in the movie though. The character was still like competent. Like she just wasn't necessarily fueled by bloodlust. Like she did become Strigoi, but she was, she could talk, she could think, she was rational to an extent. So maybe, and again, they did say in early episodes that the Strigoi, they're evolving, they're starting to think together, they're starting to strategize, so we'll see if she does end up becoming a Strigoi, what kind of Strigoi she becomes. But this is where the episode ends. So again, it's getting very interesting. It's very much like even though the adults are playing politics more so than the kids are, but the kids are being affected by the politics that the parents and the adults are playing. Um, but it's very interesting between the politics of the Moroi, the royal families, just the regular Moroi vampires, and then also the damn peers. Now we have this new human element of, maybe there's some kind of society of humans that monitor what the vampires are doing, and if they're outside of the vampire dominion or provinces, it seems there's some kind of human element of not necessarily the Strigoi, but just like a human element who are maybe against vampires existing in their society as well. we're still continuing the story of Lissa getting more information about her spirit magic and the original, I guess, spirit magic, Vladimir, and kind of what the truth is of who and how he was versus, kind of the saint that they're painting him to be in these, in the academy and in the history, that fact, versus what the real history was with him and how he actually was and his powers and all that. So, and Rose is still, Rose is has gotten what intimate and the relationship with her and Dimitri has grown, but now Dimitri sees that it can be a hindrance to her as a guardian and to them just as a couple, because if they with their feelings for each other, it can make them indecisive and maybe protecting whoever they're meant to be guardians of, and just as well as fighting when they're fighting together and trying to protect each other, as well as just themselves when they're fighting. So a lot is going on. Story's getting. It's still like this is a good episode. Um, you know, and I'm always down for magic and powers and fighting and all that stuff. That stuff. It's what makes these kind of stories cool. So I like this episode. If you like anything, hit the like button. If you have any comments, comment below. If you have seen the episode, let me know what you think. If I missed anything, let me know too. Do you like my review? Check out my other reviews if you haven't as well. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. I'm trying to reach 1,000 by the end of the year. And, I will see you next time. And it's such a cool effect. I love my tinted glasses. They're so tinted they look like sunglasses. But anyway, I will see you all next time, and have a good rest of your day. And again, this is Pass or Play.